Yo, so this week I have been a little cold, trying to do anything the snow sucks. So I wanted to make arm warmers and leg warmers, and my mother had a random sweater I found in the porch that I think was garbage. And I tried to ask, is this garbage? Can I cut this up? And I got no reply. So sorry, Mom, I took your sweater. So, well, now I'm warm. So yeah. Anyways, I used to have a pair of leg warmers, lost them. They're probably, I don't know, in the clothing buckets, the clothing storage buckets or something. I don't know. But I can't find them. And it's snowing a lot and very, very cold. So I decided that just tights isn't enough leg coverage here in the winter. So I wanted a little bit more coverage than that, at least during warm ups. So I haven't done this in literally years. I did do this once. The first time I did ballet, I made myself homemade leg warmers too, and they were just as funky, but they keep you warm. So what difference does it make as long as you're home? It doesn't matter what you look like. And I don't think they look that bad. I mean, the leg warmers could have used a second row of stitching, and that would have kept it in so that it doesn't have those little gaps. But the arms are fine. The arm warmers came out just fine. There's no issue with those. So I cut the sleeve off at the highest part of the sleeve on the sweater where it's completely flat, where it doesn't have any odd shape for arm. Just make a giant tube, and then I use blanket stitch. I think that's what it's called. Don't quote me on stitch names. I use a straight stitch, and then I go back and use it again, the kind of stitch where you can pull it to make things tighter as you go. And then once it's on, you pull it to the tightness of your arm, and then you tie it, and it's good. It's your size. So I did that for both, and then I used the knitting needle in it to keep it from unraveling, because I didn't know how quickly this knit was going to unravel. Sometimes knit will unravel so fast that you're working with it, and you have to put a knitting needle through to keep your loops. This didn't unravel, so this was fine. And you just fold it and then sew through both sides. It'll stay just fine. I made them as long as the whole sleeve so that you can get a lot of scrunch and bunch on it, but you can pull it up if you want, if you weren't wearing another jacket too, if you're just in a leotard or something. I like it bunchy down like this so that it kind of hides the seam. Yeah, it's good. Oh my God, I also got so tangled in the yarn. I don't know how this happens to my yarn. Most of my yarn is older than I am. We got a whole bunch of the yarn free way back when I was a child. Long story. Anyways, I still don't know how it wound up this knotted, but it's a nightmare. So I recommend using a color that's the same as the sweater you're using if possible. I didn't feel like going to the creepy basement to get different colors of yarn, and I just used one of the colors I have up here. So black it is. I don't really care. I like the knit look and the yarn look, so I don't mind it. If you do mind it though, definitely try to go for a thin. You could even use actual sewing machine thread for this, but it'll just take a little bit longer because your stitching is smaller. But you won't see it as much. So user's choice. I don't mind yarn though. I like the yarn look. I just said that, didn't I? Huh. So when I wanted to do the leg warmers, I took after, there's my giant leg. After I took the arms off of the sweater, now it's just a awkward shaped rectangle. I took the whole part that's the rectangle, and I just took off the little top. Yeah, there's the little top. So ultimately I used half of the sweater for each leg. I got big calves. I didn't know if I was going to need the whole half or if I was going to need more than half for just one. So I didn't cut it until I had measured my leg a few times. And then I didn't really know, should I start at the bottom, should I start at the middle? So I started at the bottom seam, and at first that was going to be the seam up by the thigh, but then I decided to flip it over and have that be the seam at the ankle because it can bunch and kind of disappear a little bit at the ankle. So I lost my train of thought. So first I did that loop part and I sew them both separately. I don't do the loop and then go down the side because the loop gets tightened, the side doesn't. So I'll do the whole straight seam down the side. I mean, I don't bother to make it calf shaped or anything. It's just a tube. The only part that I try to tighten would be around the ankle. So yeah, and they'll fall down a little bit if you have really, I don't know, I guess every leg is probably wearing a pair of tights while they're doing this. I don't know, but you could use dress tape to keep them up if you want. I am not really interested because they don't fall that far. They're really, really long. So I can pull them all the way up to, part way up my thigh, but then they'll bunch and go down to being just sitting above my knees, which I like. I like that look. So however long you want with the sweater that you have or whatever knit you're taking apart. Technically, I was going to do this out of a scarf that I used to own, but I don't know where that scarf is. I thought this was the scarf. I didn't realize this was her sweater until I was out there thieving from the bag. So any kind of knit, it doesn't matter. I was gonna just knit myself a pair, but I thought this was gonna be way faster. Why knit a pair when there's already knit? So I just sewed it closed. So I use my knitting needle as a pin for knit projects like this. I just grabbed the knitting needle that was on top so that I can assess, like, is this gonna work? Is this gonna fit? How much do I need to close over? I didn't want it to be too big so that it just hangs completely off, but I couldn't have it be too small. I got big calves. So I made it work and just kept testing with my giant leg. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't necessarily do this correctly. I just do it and wind up with a thing at the end. I try to make my art easy, and as long as I'm happy with the end result, I don't think it really matters how I did it. So for the seam around the side, I just overlapped it. No frills. Very, very simple. And definitely it would be better to just do a second seam. Technically, you could have done it on the actual sewing machine, and that would have been way faster, but ours isn't currently hooked up, and I don't want to put it in here, and I'm not going to go digging around and set it up in my mother's living room. I'm like, where else am I going to put it? I've got to go in one of the living rooms. It's not going in mine. So, yeah, I would like a designated location for the sewing machine, but that doesn't work here. We have way too much craft stuff. You can't ever just have like a craft thing out forever. It's valuable real estate that could be a different craft. So, no frills here as I just stitch up the leg and then go back down and close the gaps the other way so that it's completely, and it's not straight. But am I? I'm about as straight as my lines are, so. I think I'm the only one who finds me funny, and I find that a little funny. Growing up, I'm the youngest of 8. There's a billion people, so I would try to tell jokes just randomly, stupid jokes like that. And I'll just like bust up because I find myself hysterical, and then all my siblings are just staring at me like, what is with this? What? So yeah, I don't understand my own sense of humor, let alone someone else's. But does that really matter? Do we need to understand any of that? My leg warmer fell off. I stepped on it. They are quite long. Oof. Oh, look, I was doing it again. I have no brain capacity today. I went, like freaking year, getting very, very minimal sleep. 3 hours a night, if I was lucky. And then I started to be able to get closer to 5. One of the nights recently, I got 10. And my brain doesn't work anymore. My brain doesn't know how to process that sleep here. So I don't have a brain anymore. It left the building. I'm trying to find it. I am doing so many things lately, and I am on a mission. I'm going to do a lot of things this year. I've already done a lot of things, and I have a lot of plans for personal growth and such. So I started this ballet back up because first I started ballet when I was in college. I started college at 14, so I was somewhere around 15 or so when I did the ballet. And I enjoyed it, blah, blah, life goes on. Forget about it because I'm not a great dancer. And. So anyways, my spinal issue and all the pain was just something that I'm not processing very well. And the help from the doctors was actually horrendous. And I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to talk about it. But I decided the doctors are actively making me worse. I'm going to fix my own spine. So I started the ballet again, and I am in complete control of my body inside and out, and I'm happy about that. The control is comfort, and it has helped with my back quite a bit. I managed to adjust my own med schedule so that instead of taking a drug that was making me very confused, I stretch and stuff. So they put me on a whole bunch of different pain meds. I'm still on most of them. But I at least managed to get myself off the one that was making me confused all the time about everything. So yeah, just a little bit of stretching. Like, hello, where is the doctor who was supposed to tell me that? Well, it was the one I saw most recently, and I'm never, ever going to talk to him again. And I don't even want to talk about him. It's tragic. I don't trust medical anymore, and I don't trust doctors at all. If you have an injury, like a big injury, like something really bad happened to your body, good luck with the medical if you're in this country. It's really, so I hate the place that I live because of it, because the place that I lived before, the place that I was born and stayed most of my life, medical was great. Medical here, you don't get any help. You actively get hurt, and you are a science experiment for them. I don't want to be a science experiment. I'm going to fix myself.